Hi everyone, I wanted to show you how I repurposed this derelict room that I made before. So what I decided to do was transform it into like a sort of witch's potion room. So first of all I used some coffee stirrers to cover the floor, and I just staggered those so they weren't all perfectly even or anything, to make it look a bit more like floorboards. I find these coffee stirrers work really good as flooring for this scale. And once I had attached the coffee stirrers to the floor, then what I did was made the furniture out the same coffee stirrers. It's just a case of laying coffee stirrers next to each other and gluing them together, and then making rows of them in different sizes and then attaching them together to make these little bookcases and shelves. And then I wanted to smooth down the surface because obviously I don't want it to look like I've used a bunch of coffee stirrers for everything. So what I then did was I took some filler. It's just regular filler you use around the house, and I used that to put a layer over the top of the coffee stirrers that I used to get rid of the little grooves, so it looks like more solid pieces of wood, but also adds like a lot of texture, so it looks like really old battered shelves that obviously would have a lot of texture to them, but also it makes it so they don't look like coffee stirrers and just fills in the gaps. So, and I did the same technique all over the bookcases I made, as well as the table that I made, which you'll see in a little bit. So all I'm doing here is applying a layer all over, and I'm using that, as you can see, it fills the gaps in for the little bits of wood and just makes it look like a solid piece of wood instead. It also adds a little bit of thickness to the wood, so it just looks like it's small old furniture instead of loads of coffee stirrers basically. And what I did as well is on the front of the bookcase I put some coffee stirrers sideways on, so the large flat side is facing outwards, and that makes it look like it's thicker wood for the bookcases as well, and it just finishes off those edges so you can't see all the little rough edges inside. So here you can see I made a table and it's fine, but I wanted to blend those little layers of wood in. So I just smoothed over a layer of the filler, and I'm not too worried about getting a perfectly smooth layer. You could sand it and everything afterwards once it's dry and smooth it as best as you can while it's wet if you wanted a smooth finish, but I wanted this to look like a really quite a battered well-used table that's probably got many years of potions and things spilt on it. It's never really been cleaned properly. That's the sort of look I was going for. And I also filled in the legs as well, because the legs were made out of 3 coffee stirrers stuck together and then cut to length. So I used that to fill up the gaps so it looked like solid wood. And then, as you can see, the flooring, I put some coffee stirrers around the edges to finish the edges off, and then it's just a case of filling in these tiny little gaps. Once this is painted you won't be able to tell that this is filler, but it fills in the gaps and just makes the model have a more finished edge to it. It just looks more complete. And I'm trying to make it as smooth as I can, but again, I'm not worrying about sanding or anything. This is to look like an old room, a room that's well used. It's been used by this gnarly old witch that's had it for years, and she doesn't clean it or anything, and there's like spilt potions everywhere and spilt ingredients and old bottles that have got potions in that's been long forgotten about, that sort of thing. So yeah, it's just I wanted it to look quite grotty really. So here I'm just filling in the sides of the bookcase as well, and then I had to leave that to dry for, it's only a thin layer so it dried in a couple of hours, And like I said, if you do want a smoother finish, you can sand it to get the smoother finish if you like. And then once it's all sanded and dried and sanded, then it's a case of moving on to painting. And once I painted all the furniture black with some acrylic paint and the floors, then I just added little potion jars that I made and little mini books, which I've done in previous tutorials. I'll put links for those, how to make those, in the description box below. And then just use that to fill up the shelves, and that's it. That's how I changed the model and recycled an old model that I didn't want anymore. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.